From Mighty Ant says, great close to the Micah Selfish video. Holley's not a Cowboys legend. The final cut. By definition, Jesse Holley is a Cowboys legend. I thought the whole Micah Selfish narrative was frankly kind of lame, but I broke that down already. This came in via Super Thanks, by the way. Super Chats happen on live shows. Super Thanks happen on regular videos, on-demand stuff. It is a feature on YouTube, allows you to donate. If you do, I really appreciate it. You're helping me feed my family, after all. We will give you a shout-out no matter your message. From Steven, do you see under the radar free agents the Cowboys might sign to a one-year contract? Running back and linebacker, the supply outweighs the demand, I think. There are several players I would have some sizable interest in, a lot of running backs. I've wanted Azeez Al-Shaair for over a year now. Can I get him? I don't know. We'll find out. So name a free agent who you want to sign. Any position group. It doesn't have to be on the radar like that last question, but just any free agent. We'll expand the horizons here. Sound off for me in the comments section. From Low Montaball, we could have put anyone at head coach and gone 12-3 the last 3 years because the team was too good on its own to do any worse. Mike has not shown that he won one Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers instead of because of Aaron Rodgers. I understand some of the deserved Dak criticism. At least he's shown he could be great on his own. Just needs a good coach behind him to make the hard games easier. Meanwhile, I can't feel that, but that Mike has been riding coattails. Harsh? Maybe. But they're also the team that steamroll bad teams that came on any of the hard games. That's on the head coach. Should have extended Dak and ditched Mike, but now it's all effed up for at least another year. I don't fully disagree with that. There are, maybe we give Mike a little bit more credit for winning those games, but it's just not good enough right now. And that's concerning on, not just head coach, not just quarterback, but on multiple levels. Philip Fromm, if we draft a corner or sign one, what would you do with Daron Bland after the year? Move back in a slot or focus on adding a slot corner? I think you could play him short-term in the slot. I think if you're adding a corner to start like interior on the outside, then Bland's going to be your nickel. And maybe you sign a veteran and you kind of make him the number 3, and Bland is, when they're in base, as few times as that is on the outside still. I would also make sure I add more depth via draft or free agency and add someone that can play nickel as well. Because right now it's a pretty thin group behind your good players of Diggs and Bland that are under contract. From Richard Robinson, assuming Belichick sits a year, extend Dak, get Bill Belichick, go all in for 2025, we would just suffer through another playoff disappointment in 2024. Thoughts? I'm a little worried about Bill. This is not the same Bill Belichick. This is going to be an older Bill Belichick. I think the reason why it fell apart with Atlanta for that interview was I think Bill just wanted to get the gang back together again. And that, McDaniels and Patricia, and I don't know if that was going to work. My lone request, the same one it was this year. If you move on from Mike McCarthy, please do a real search. Don't interview 5 people or 4 people and hire some retread again. Do a real search. Talk to those young offensive minds. There are always new ones that pop up. You should do that at the bare minimum. That's all I'm asking for. So will Mike McCarthy be the Cowboys head coach in 2025? Why for yes and for no? It's the pinned comment. You know the drill. Ad comes here on YouTube. Take advantage. Go vote. From Chris B. See the post on X that the Lions offers a player to the draft and Catboy didn't know who it was. LMAO, we are so screwed if true. So background here is, I did tweet about it. You're also screwed if it is true. The allegedly, in this game, I think it was Kent Garrison on John Machota's podcast with The Athletic, back when Kent worked for the Cowboys. You could go in and listen to all the calls because they're all, recorded for the, secret audio stuff. The Lions called Dallas about a player that was notable enough to be known by Garrison. And Steven went, who's that? And Lions say, blah, 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 here's who he is. He goes, okay, we'll call you back. Steven puts down the phone, talks to nobody. Lions call back and said, hey, did you think about it? He goes, yeah, we're good. That's so bad. That is not doing your due diligence, Steven. That is you not knowing who a player is, having to ask who he is, and being arrogant enough to say, you know what, I can make the decision by myself. You got a horde of very well-paid, very good at their jobs, personnel people around you, and you're just going to think, I know more than them? When you're paying them to do their jobs, like it's answering your question as, hey, who's this? If the answer is no, that's fine. But to not know who it is and go, I'm going to make the call anyway, that's bad. That's so bad. From Grant Rainwater, first pick Jordan Morgan, tackle from Arizona, or Jackson Powers Johnson. I will make note here, by the way, that Jordan Morgan checked into the Senior Bowl sub 33-inch arms. The Cowboys have not taken a tackle with sub 33-inch arms as far as I could tell going back. I'll go back and look at like the 90s if I can find the data for it, but it's not great. Zach Martin was a guard with sub 33-inch arms. Might not be on their board. Jackson Powers Johnson, center from Oregon, would not be mad at it. From Jimmy, can we hire someone from the Niners defensive staff to be our new DC if Dan Quinn leaves? Funny how, fair, but also funny, we wouldn't ask this question if they had not come back and won that game. Also, no. Outside of like a unqualified or unideal candidate, no one's leaving the Niners where there's stability and comfort and a good spot and playing for Super Bowl to come work for a year for Dallas. If you do lose Quinn, this is not going to be an appealing defensive coordinator job because the organizational stability at the head coaching spot is not there. It's simply not. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100 on the app that makes daily fantasy easy. You're picking 2 to 6 player stat projections more than or less than on those stat picks. And if you get them all right, boom, you're coming out on top. Now, I got a few different Super Bowl prize picks out there. Here's my favorite one because it's got a little boost, I'll call it, from Prize Picks. Patrick Mahomes, more than a half passing yard. It's a freebie, you know? I've also got Christian McCaffrey, more than 8.5 yards on the ground, and Travis Kelce, more than catches. So the big 3 players in this game, right? Sorry, Debo, Ayuk, etc. I'm taking the more than on the 2 tough ones and the easy one. Flex play's fine, but flex play with the boosted numbers isn't really all that valuable. So I'm going straight power play on this one. Again, go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Links in the comments and the description of today's show. From Brian Parson, if we make all the trades to get a top rookie quarterback, trade Prescott to Atlanta for Terrell and a first, sign Mac to replace Micah, tired 35-plus year fan here, I want change. My issue here, Brian, is I get the frustration to save space to them. I think you just got worse. Like, you definitely got worse at pass, at the pass rusher spot. Mac's great and all, but, like, he had, 3 good games this year. He was inconsistent beyond that. Yeah, sure, you're getting A.J. Terrell in a 2025 first. What else are you moving to get that top, first-round QB? And now you've got an aging pass rusher, and your window kind of shrunk on the defensive side of the ball kind of quickly. If you want to blow it up, frankly, I wouldn't even have a quarterback this season. I would go into the year with Trey Lance and Cooper Rush. See if Lance can develop into anything more than a career backup. And if he does, great. If he doesn't, that's fine. You'll probably be high enough to organically take your quarterback and not give up all those extra years of draft picks. Jimmy, I'd rather have Ron Rivera than Quinn because I think we need a new voice. I don't disagree on needing a new voice, and that's true for this entire organization, frankly. But it does need to be the right voice. And I don't know if Ron Rivera, at this stage in his career, is the right voice for this team. Gabriel, $2, just says Mike McCarthy. I assume he's blaming Mike. That's the way I take that one. Jerome Nichols, whoever Dallas gets, absolutely has to have a hatred of losing mentality. Our team doesn't mind losing. Hashtag alpha dogs. You know what the big issue here is? Jalen Smith said it, and it's about your owners. It's Jerry and Steven. If the owner ain't tripping, we good. Your top of the top organizational structure has to care about losing the postseason. They are content to be a 10, 11, 12 win team and make the postseason. They are fine with that because we're still talking about them from a national media perspective, and they're making good money. Rico, would you draft a receiver in round 1 and cut Gallup? I'm down with that plan if the right receiver is there. It's a really good receiver class. You might be able to get a really good player in round 2 or round 3. You don't have to force the round 1 option. But I am going to cut Gallup. I think it's time. It's just he has not lived up to the contract. I can save money. He's getting played at the same level, if not worse, or maybe a bit better by Jalen Tolbert, who costs a fraction of it. And Tolbert has a higher ceiling right now because he's younger. So yeah, I'm going to cut Gallup. As for the draft angle, name a player who you want the Cowboys to draft. Sound off for me in the comments section. Grant Rainwater says dream free agency is Christian Wilkins, Lavonte David, and Jaylon Johnson. Wilkins is, I think he's going to stick around. I'm not going to get my hopes up too much for that one. I think Lavonte David, if he's not back in Tampa, God, I'd love him. I think Jaylon Johnson will get tagged. I'm not sure Wilkins will. So I think that gives you some hope from that perspective. For Mark, he did this on Dak again, but with Coop had the same stats with him as he did Carr. Dez and Terrence regressed big time when Dak took over. Coop was a 1,000-yard receiver everywhere except here. Is it the wide receivers or is it Dak? My counterpoint is Dez and T. Will were out of the NFL after those seasons. Like, they briefly played for the Ravens and Saints, and T. Will flamed out of the Mexico Football League. Like, Williams was just, he was cooked. He was gassed. He didn't have it anymore. Dez was kind of cooked too. But, Randall Cobb has had one good year in his past 7 years. Came in Dallas. Cole Beasley had some of his best years alongside Dak. Look at what, Cedric Wilson had a great year in Dallas and then did nothing in Miami. Brandon Cooks had 81 targets this season. Why did he have not 1,000 yards? That's his third fewest ever. He had 93 last year, by the way, and almost had the same yards. So I think that the Cooks angle might have been, I think that was probably more of a scheme thing. Not enough targets his way, but you gave so many to Lamb, it's fine. And Amari had slightly better stats, but Amari is also a great wide receiver. He's really productive, really good. Also, his targets were a little bit lower in Dallas. Again, kind of a scheme thing to a certain extent. I think Amari's just good everywhere. Like, for that, it's just the, receiver angle. But we've also seen Dak elevate other receivers. Not all of them, but other ones too. KK's Jr., Tom, what were you and McCarthy talking about in your Twitter banner pick? I believe I was asking how, because this was back when he'd just been hired as the Cowboys head coach. I think I was asking him how the move to Dallas was going and moving his family and everything. And we chatted for a few minutes, and then other Packers reporters came up, and that was kind of it. From Will Marshall, shout out to any DC who makes halftime adjustments. This is a Chiefs Ravens super chat because they scored. Was it 17 points, whatever it was, in the first 4 drives, and then or 21 points, and then nothing after that. Chris B, no to Bill Belichick. If Mike McCarthy is right, it's time to go young. My concern is that this Dallas Cowboys team is not going to go young ever. From Mark, no one talks about the strength of schedule. We had the 30th and the 10th ranked defenses. We could not move the ball 3, 14, etc. Could not move the ball well on those first 3 defenses. I charted the numbers from the past year and a half of like the defensive points allowed and the offensive points scored against those the top above average offenses and defenses. The defense averaged like almost 30 points per game allowed. I'm trying to find my stats here. And the offense averaged, it was like 26 or something along that. Like, it's still regressive, but not like terrible from that perspective. Also, we did just see Mahomes and Lamar not move the ball against top 3 defenses either. Sometimes the opposing team gets paid too, and sometimes they're good. I want more from both sides of the ball, to be clear, and it is troubling that everything about this team, offense, and even more so the defense, tends to just look like it's a challenge to do anything when they're playing a top 5 team on either side of the ball. And it's even worse on defense. Now, don't miss any Cowboys videos here, folks. Hit that sub button. for more free Cowboys videos every single day. All right, Gabriel again just says, Mike McCarthy. I appreciate that. From Mark, we have a good quarterback. We will pay elite. We have a head coach who is solid but far from difference maker, and a bunch of okay players who pretend are really good, like Armstrong. Bad 2023 draft, and Jerry Jones are killing us. Remember, it's not just Jerry. Stephen Jones is also a very real problem. AJ Medell has Ron had a good defense at the 2015 Panthers. 2022 Commanders were actually a very good defense. They were actually top 5 in EPA per play the year before that, and then they kind of quickly fell apart. Brian, so the last few players we've played, the next year either fallen off or gotten injured. Are you worried about that with CD? Blow it up. LOL. I can't make deals scared. Like I'm not, and I think Lamb's a hard worker. I think he's a great football player. You know what I would do? Is I wouldn't drag my feet this time. I'd get that deal done as soon as possible, because I think that's going to benefit you and the player and the organization more than anything. For Mark, who was the expletive deleted who wanted Mozzie to lose 30 pounds? I don't know. Cowboys have not, even around the organization, they've not let that info out. So maybe it's a player thing, maybe it's a coach thing, I don't know. Maybe it's a front office thing, I don't know. They did with Tyron Crawford, who knows? Last I heard is he's going to get the weight back on this offseason. He better, because I cannot take a fatty nose guard and make him into a 3 technique. That defeats the whole purpose of doing it. We shall see what happens there.